It's time for another Santa Anita Pick'em contest, and I'm very excited to be joined by one of my best buds this week, Eric, who joins me on a lot of my content podcasts. We've worked together for the last couple years. We talk all sorts of sports, football, college football, NBA, anything you can wager on. So I had to bring in one of the big guns to help me out to talk about these Pick'em contests. Eric, buddy, how you doing today?
I just the best bud this week or like for more?
No, man, the last couple years, I was gonna say we've talked to each other probably more than I talk to my significant other. So whether or not you want to be, you're just having to deal with my my voice for hours and hours each and every week. So there you go, buddy.
Excited to be here. I'm looking forward to this, diving in it. I love Santa Anita, one of my favorite courses. So let's see what we can come up with for the people.
And what's great about these contests is they're free. They're the best way to build your bankroll every week. You don't have to deposit anything into any account. You don't have to invest any of your money. All you do is just sign up and register for an account. They're on the Santa Anita website. So the website we're looking at is pick'em.santanita.com. And every Saturday and Sunday, they have contests just like the ones that we're going to be looking at. And every day, there's $1,000 given to the winner. So every single day you can play and possibly win 1,000. On top of that, they give out a prize for the most correct picks throughout the entire meet. So if you play, it's an incentive to play every Saturday and Sunday, because maybe there'll be a lot of times where you don't win, but you go, damn, out of those 12, I had 8 or 9 or 10. I did pretty well. You will still be able to maybe make some money off of that. If that's the case, most total selections, most correct picks will both give you, the chance at big money. So like always, Eric, anytime we're signing up for stuff, I just always like to recommend read the fine print. If you need to check out any of the rules, they have all the ways that you can, all the information, all the details and everything. But this is pretty simple. This is just a straight prop contest where there are 12 props plus a tiebreaker. And you don't get any sort of benefits for the odds of horses or games or anything that you select. So this is really just trying to pick the winner all the way through and just stack winners along the way, Eric.
Yeah, and the most important thing is it's free. It doesn't cost any money to enter, and something free to make some free money, I love.
And if you're a college football fan, you're probably already going to have handicapped and looked at some of the big college football games. So every Saturday, a lot of these props will be dealing with racing or college football. Then on Sunday, they'll be dealing with more NFL and the Sunday Santa Anita races. And right now we're actually in the middle of the baseball playoffs. So we're going to have some baseball props on there also. Always remember when you're playing in any games to fill out your tiebreaker. And Eric, what's nice, when you submit any of your picks, it gives you an alert. So you always know that your pick has been saved. Right there, I saved mine. How many rushing yards will USC have against Washington State? I think they're in the 180 yards rushing per game or so. I went 160 for USC in this game against an opponent that I think is pretty good. They have a couple options. They have a quarterback that can run the ball a little bit too, a couple good backs. What would be a number you might look at for USC rushing yards?
I'd be right there, 185, 195. So I would go 189, something.
There you go.
Weird like that.
Just a little bit unique. So that way, if you're slightly off, right? So yeah, that's always a smart play too. For me, I'm at 160, maybe smarter to go something like 161, just so that way you're a little bit different than maybe everyone else. Because
I like is because I'll do stuff a lot of times and I'm not logged in. And I went to enter my stuff this morning and I got yelled at saying I wasn't logged in. So
it tells you.
I like that feature a lot.
Yeah, it's really nice. So that way, just like you said, you remember everything saves for you, and you'll always remember to save your stuff because it'll tell you if you're not logged in. So let's dive into the other props in here, Eric. Some of them are as simple as this: pick the winner of race 1, and it'll tell you the percentages of what everyone has selected in each race. So in this opening race, I think you had talked a little bit when we were discussing in the pre-show about a horse, Unworld, who moved into the McCarthy barn, a horse who dropped in class a little bit last time out. I think that was your play in here, right?
Yep, the drop in class, Victor, obviously riding well.
Good start to the meet.
Yep. McCarthy's always a solid trainer. I think the barn switch is going to help him a lot. And then I also like it here how they show the percentages. I don't want to pick someone that's one of the favorites. I want to look in a different direction here.
Yep.
And I think the McCarthy Espinoza combo, I like that a lot. I'll roll with them.
Yeah, I probably am leaning with Unworld also too, because Unworld comes into the McCarthy barn, take a shot against Tougher, and they get a feel for this horse. And now this is just a much better spot for Unworld. The problem is I genuinely like looking to get even, but with the horse who's getting backed like this, that's a heavy, it's more than a third of people in a wide open race. It's just, at some point, it's just not worth picking a horse that's that heavily backed in a race that's this sort of wide open. I really couldn't find many others that I loved in here. I can understand anyone that would just take a total shot with a horse like Baby's Dream, who's a wild card to the outside, but I might be with you, Eric, with Unworld. I'd probably go 3 or 12 in here just to get away from the 5. If you're betting this race overall, I think the 5 is going to be pretty tough, but in a contest like this, when it's a free contest, when every one is just one, like I'm looking elsewhere. So are you, Eric. And let's look to our second prop. Now, when we record this show, we're recording right now at like 7:00 Eastern time on Friday evening. We don't know all of the pitching matchups. And so that makes this prop a little bit more difficult to answer, because it says who will score the most runs in the wild card games. On Saturday, there are 4 wild card games, but the Padres and the Mets play, and we don't know who will be pitching for the Mets because the Mets are waiting to see what happens in the result of game 1. Now, anyone that's watching this show, you'll know later tonight or early tomorrow by the time you need to, fill this prop out yourself. So you'll have more information than me and Eric have right now. It'll be a little bit easier for you to make that call. So it's kind of hard for us to make a decision here, Eric, based on not knowing who the Mets are going to pitch there. If it's DeGrom, obviously you feel a little bit differently about that. If it's maybe a Bassett or a Carrasco or someone else.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of have to see. I mean, I think right off the bat, though, you can eliminate the Mets just because Snell, his last 4 has been lights out. I know if you look at StatMuse, he has a 4.5 ERA, but that's a little inflated because at the beginning of the year, he gave up 11 runs to them.
And look, there are already 30 plus people, almost a third of people picking the Mets because they think of the Mets as the better team. But even if this Mets team wins, I don't know if it's going to be in a high scoring game.
Yeah. I mean, you just don't know who's pitching. You know what I mean? That's the hard thing. Robbie Ray is on the mound for Seattle. So, I mean, he's an adventure in itself. So maybe Toronto, but you see the 42 people. I kind of like your pick of the Seattle Mariners, just kind of going against the grain, just without knowing. If the Mets do win tonight and they do, quote unquote, throw someone out there, then
San Diego.
Then you go San Diego.
Yeah, I agree with you. So we'll make that adjustment once we find out a little bit more information there. Let's jump into college football. This is what's so cool about these. You go from racing to baseball to college football, all right in a row. So it really tests some of your skills as a handicapper, as a gambler, as a sports fan. Try to dive in and figure these props out the best that you can. Who scores the most points on Saturday? Ohio State, Clemson, Notre Dame, Alabama, Oregon. Which of these teams do you think will score the most points in their game? So looking at right now, 63% of people have picked Ohio State. Alabama is 27%. And then Oregon, Clemson, and Notre Dame. What are some of your thoughts on this one?
Well, I mean, just kind of looking at it, I know that Oregon and Arizona, their over-under is 70.
And Oregon is favored by
like 13.5.
Yeah.
As a proud Michigan State fan, I can say we are awful. I don't know how we're going to stop Ohio State. I would pick Ohio State, but I see the 63%, so that takes me off of that. I'll be honest, something kind of weird. I don't know how BYU is going to stop Notre Dame.
For me, it's Notre Dame or BYU because you take Alabama, and I think a lot of people will play Alabama, but the only thing to think about is they're playing the Texas A&M team that has a very good defense. That is one thing that Texas A&M has a strength. Their defense is good. So they could slow Alabama down a little bit. Like, I don't like Alabama as much as Ohio State or Oregon, just in their matchups with the possibility of them scoring a lot. But if you're looking at who to play in this prop, that might be a little contrarian. For me, it would either be Oregon or Notre Dame, because I agree with you. I've been a little disappointed with BYU.
And yeah, and then also like something with the Clemson game. Clemson is missing some starters on the defensive side. They could play a little bit slower, or BC could play a little bit slower. So I don't want anything to do there. Oregon, that's a good pick. Arizona defensively is a little bit of a train wreck, but they do have a good offense. They could keep up with them. So yeah, I'd go against the grain here. I don't think BYU is going to be able to stop Notre Dame's rushing attack. I'd go with Notre Dame.
And what's nice is that, like, if you change your pick, which you can make a change in your pick all the way up until this goes off. So you have until 4:00 Eastern time, 1:00 Pacific time to make this selection. These contests you have to be entered in the contest by the time the first one goes off, but you can make adjustments all the way through. It's not as if your entry locks. So maybe you find out that there's an injury early in the morning, or someone's not going to play. You can make your adjustment, and it'll always let you know when you've made your pick that it's been saved. Your pick has been made. You get that little alert. Up next, Eric, we have to really use our mind here. We're going to go from Juan Hernandez wins to Caleb Williams touchdown passes to Bo Nix touchdown passes. So I think if you're playing this out, you kind of simply want to just kind of predict what you think each of them may have, right? And what those numbers will be. Juan Hernandez has 9 mounts on the Saturday card. And if you go through the horses that he's riding, these are the odds of the horses that Juan Hernandez is on through the Saturday card. So we've got the second race. He's on the 2-1 favorite. In the third race, Hernandez is on the 5-2 favorite. In the fourth race, Hernandez is on the 5-2 second choice. So he has 9 mounts, and they're all freaking live. In the fifth race, he's on Blanche, who we're going to talk about next in just a moment. In the sixth race, he's on Uncontrollable, who's 12-1. In the seventh race, he's on a 6-1 shot multi-platinum. In the eighth race, the American Pharaoh, he's on the 4-5 favorite, Cave Rock for Baffert. In the ninth race, he is aboard Turn on the Jets, is another horse that you and I like. And then in the 10th and final, he has a mount on Fly the Sky, who is 5-1. So, on paper, it could be a really big day for Juan Hernandez.
On paper, it could be a big day, but, looking at the prop, if you pick Oregon to have the most points, you kind of have to tie it into going with Bo Nix.
I think I kind of like Bo Nix here.
Yeah.
I really do. And, looking at Caleb Williams, he's averaged. So Caleb Williams has 12 touchdowns in his 5 games. So a little over 2. I kind of eliminate him immediately. I'm not saying that Caleb Williams can't have 5 touchdown passes here, but just from what I'm seeing on the card, I think it's very possible that Juan Hernandez could win 4 or 5. And then on the Bo Nix side, Nix threw 3 touchdowns at Washington State. He had 2 touchdowns last week. I think there's a possibility of Nix getting to 4. I would actually have Caleb Williams last of these 3. And that's one of the fun things about playing in some of these props, Eric, is that teams like USC, teams like UCLA, and then teams like the kind of the heavy chalk teams get really, really overvalued. And I think a lot of people know Caleb Williams. They'll lean Caleb Williams. I actually like either of the other 2 as options. I think I'm going to go Bo Nix.
Yeah, I would definitely go Bo Nix too.
Now, the 5th prop asks us about a particular horse named Blanche, who's running in the Rodeo Drive Stakes. It says, where will Blanche finish? First, second, third, or off the board? So 4th or worst. Now, I like this horse quite a bit. Eric, I've been following her for a little while, and I think you thought she had a chance to win this race too. Talk to us a little bit about her.
Coming back to Santa Anita, most success at Santa Anita. I think there's one other horse, the Walsh horse, could beat her, but he's done well with shippers out west. But at the end of the day, I just think Hernandez is a better jockey right now in the stage of his career than Mike Smith is. So I'll take the jockey I value better. I'll take Hernandez. I'll take him to win.
Blanche comes out of a race on August the 19th at Del Mar. She had a fine start. She looked like she was kind of eager, like she wanted to go, but she was inside. She was in tight. She was back to second. And then a couple horses to her outside made big early moves, and she got stuck. It was like a blind switch. She gets shuffled all the way back, and she looms up, but she has nowhere to go. I would not be surprised if they put her on the lead, if Hernandez gets aggressive. The last two times they got aggressive with her, she won going wire to wire, and there is not that much other proven early speed in here. I hope she's right there on the front end. I like her too in here, Eric, quite a bit. I actually gave her out as one of my best bets. I think she's a very, very live play if you're playing any of the races on Saturday. Blanche. Let's continue along. Let's get to race number 6. So I think we have opposite directions in here. Justique was really, really impressive in the debut. You're going to go Justique versus the field.
I am. Like you said, impressive. I know the buyer figure wasn't that high. I know got chased down by 3, but when you look at the results of the 3 that chased them down, they all won their next race. So it wasn't like it was a low, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It wasn't like the horses that chased them down did win their next race. So that showed me something. I looked at the rest of the field. I just don't like the other horses in the rest of the field. I like Justique to win.
Justique, as Eric mentioned, defeated 3 next out winners. The only issue that I have with her is that she missed a few weeks of training time, had a little bit of like a physical issue. It was just a small issue. It caused her to miss one of the bigger races at Del Mar. And because of that, she's sort of in a spot where she has to go from 5.5 furlongs all the way to 1 mile and a 16th without that next progression race, the race that would have been at like 6.5 or 7 for her. So I think she'll be a really, really good second or third in this race. I just sort of look to the rest of the field. I kind of like Home Cooking, who made a big early move and got a little bit tired, and Tell Me No Lies ran her down. I'll go field versus Justique. So Eric and I go a little slightly different in here. Now, Eric, I'm still having a tough time deciding on this one because I don't really have a strong opinion in this A&M Alabama game. I mentioned A&M has a very good defense. Alabama dealing with some quarterback issues, but so is A&M. I mean, I can be swayed either way here. I really don't have a strong opinion. Right now, I'm leaning. And if I ever have to lean in a game where I don't know, I take the underdog. And this is up to 24.5. But I don't know. Can you talk me into Alabama laying the big number? What do you think about this one?
If I had to bet it, I would bet Alabama here. I'm going to take Alabama in the contest just because Jimbo and Nick don't like each other. And it's been shown that when this happens, Nick does run up the score. This is a revenge game. I believe it's like 13-2 he is ATS in a revenge type scenario, which this is from last year because A&M did beat them. We need to remember all the stuff that was said in the offseason by Jimbo about buying the players. I think this is a statement game. I think our Alabama rolls them. And plus, A&M doesn't have their starting quarterback. Yeah. I think they're going to struggle to score. I like Alabama here. I know it's a big number, but I would take them.
So if you do make your change and you go to Alabama, it'll let you know that your pick has been made and it is locked in. Let's go BYU Notre Dame. We have an over-under in this game, 51.5 total points. Do you think we're going to be under? Do you think we're going to be over here?
I would take the over. Like I mentioned before.
I did also, yeah.
I don't think that I don't think BYU, is going to be able to stop Notre Dame's rushing attack. With that going on and Notre Dame getting out to a lead like I envisioned in my cap of the game, I think this is going to force BYU to play a little bit faster. Obviously, I know BYU could be without their two-star wide receivers. That could hurt them. But at the end of the day, if Notre Dame's going up and down the field, BYU is going to have to play fast to keep up. So I like the over.
Yeah, they can't run, BYU. Like, they just can't run the ball. They're not really good running the ball here, and I think it may put them in a position where they're just forced to throw And they're forced to come and play from behind. I agree with you. We're both on the over here, BYU Notre Dame. And any of you out there, if you're college football fans and you're like a real college football fan, Eric and I are part of a show every Friday that goes at 6:00 p.m. Eastern time. It's called Campus Profits, and you can follow on Twitter. If you follow me on Twitter, it's me, Gino B, or if you follow Better Than Vegas at BTV Bets, that show is free. It's a free live stream. Eric joins me and our buddy Jim, and we preview all of the big college football games for the weekend. We talked a little bit about BYU Notre Dame in that one. So if you want to get a little more college football analysis, that's free to help get you set up for the weekend. Set those alarms for Friday, 6:00 p.m. Eastern time for Campus Profits. Eric, let's continue on. We have a head-to-head. So this is in race number 9. Head-to-head, Turn on the Jets or Rip City. And I think you and I are both on the same one in here. Talk to us about Turn on the Jets.
Turn on the Jets, has Hernandez on the mount, like you mentioned before, really, really, really live. I think that he's going to like the course. I think he's going to like the downhill of the course here.
Totally agree.
And I'm seeing 24%. You know what I mean? Like this is one of those ones or even if it's like slightly close and you're on the fence, just math wise, if you hit this one, you're going to be eliminating basically 76% because you do have to. How many of these do you think you have to get right to win the contest?
Probably like 8. I mean, I'd say 8-ish. 8 or 9 of your 12, you're probably right in the mix. And some days are a little bit tougher based on how difficult the races are. If you get a real long shot or two that knocks everyone out, but yeah. 8's probably a good number. 8 of the 12.
Yeah, so if you look at this, if you get this one right, you're knocking out 76% of the people
right off the bat now in that one. And yeah. I completely agree with you. I think the trip for Turn on the Jets will be better too. He may be able to get in front of Rip City, maybe sit a little bit closer. Turn on the Jets is coming out of a 5 furlong turf sprint where he was sitting right behind. And he's going to go second start off the long layoff, second time in the D'Amato barn. He didn't race from December to August, and now he's had 6 weeks off after that, so he should be really ready to fire a big effort. I agree, Eric. We're both on Turn on the Jets in race number 9. So for the 10th race, it's just another simple pick the winner of race number 10, and I think you were looking at Hawk of War for a horse that you liked in here.
Yeah, first off the claim, won his last race out. And I think this is a jump in distance. I think the increase in distance will help him for his running style as well, too.
Yeah, he's been really versatile. He's been just sharp right now. This is a good spot for Hawk of War, who is the 5 for Eric. I thought the horse right to the outside, Bang for Your Buck, was kind of interesting, the number 7. Bang for Your Buck is just another really consistent, really, really sharp horse right now. He's lost recently to Prince of Bama, who went on and faced Stakes Company. Carmelita's Man, who came back to win their next start. When he lost to Standing O came right back to win their next start. When he lost to Hail Freedom, that one came right back to win their next start. So he's just been losing to horses that are really sharp and in really nice form. I'm looking at Bang for Your Buck. Eric's looking at Hawk of War for our horses to play in race number 10. Oh, Eric, Michigan State.
Yeah,
they're on Michigan State. There would have been years when Michigan State would have been on which of these teams scored the most points prop. But this year, Michigan State is on the which one of these teams scores the least points prop. Talk to us about this group of teams who scores the least. So we have Michigan State against Ohio State. We have Arizona against Oregon, A&M against Bama. Who's Boston College playing again?
They play Clemson, and Clemson's missing a lot of defensive starters.
Okay,
a lot of guys up front. They're missing Bessie. He was not playing. He's their best defensive lineman. So that for me takes this immediately off the board.
I completely agree. I would not play Boston College there.
For Arizona, they have Corvig, the transfer. I just totally butchered that name, from Utah State. He's a dynamic playmaker. I think that takes Arizona off the board. Then it just comes down for me, Michigan State or Texas A&M. These are two teams that are going to struggle to score points. Justin Day No, sorry. Jason Day isn't as big a jerk as Nick Saban is, so I'll take Texas A&M.
I agree. I think that Saban has a little bit more of a chip on his shoulder this week.
He's going to make a point to shut them out when they won't make that point. Even with how putrid Michigan State's offense is, they could score that last second touchdown like they did against Minnesota. If A&M only gets a field goal, you don't want to use it like that. So I'd play A&M here.
I just don't know what Texas A&M is going to be able to do against Alabama offensively with the quarterback issues they are dealing with now. They lost their best wide receiver a couple weeks ago. I mean, this is a poor offense. And so I mean, for this particular prop, I mean, what do we say their over under is 13.5 for their team total?
13.5.
So I mean, that is a way that you can play some of these props, even is just look at the team totals of teams and see which some of the lowest ones are. And we know that Alabama has a little bit of added incentive with what Jimbo said about them the last few years and what he said about Saban. So that is prop number 11. Let's finish things out. Eric, what number will be higher? The highest winning payout on the Santa Anita card or the total points scored by Ohio State? So the thing about horse racing is, there are long shots in every race, but I don't know if we're going to have – it's okay, so let's kind of take it from a different angle. How many points do you think Ohio State's going to score?
50.
And so now it comes
48.
down to –
let's say they score 48.
So now it comes down to, is there going to be a 25-1 shot that wins on the card? I don't either. And that's – I know this is a heavy Ohio State lean, but – I think this is one of the ones that I probably am just going on the Ohio State side too, because they could score 60 or 70 points if they want to.
Easily.
And I don't know how many live 25-1 shots throughout the card tomorrow that I even seeing, just like going through the races, in each of these races, there are only, in some races, there won't even be a 25-1 shot. Right. And in other races, there'll be one or two horses that might be 30 or 40-1, but they really have very little chance. So there are days where a lot of the favorites win and the highest winning payout is 12, and I don't think there's any chance Ohio State scores something less than like 28.
I don't think there's any chance you score less than 42.
No, you're right, though. You're right. But their floor for what they can score, even think about that. If they just get to 28, we would need a 15-1 shot to beat them to get to a $30 winner. So the floor for Ohio State, I think is too high. I got to lean Ohio State on this one.
I would definitely go with Ohio State as well.
Eric, buddy, this was a lot of fun talking it out with you. I always appreciate hearing your opinions on any sports and being able to pick your brain a little bit. So you and I will be here each and every week. We'll probably do some of these Friday evening, and maybe we'll do some of them either Saturday or for Sunday, because we'll make sure that we do a few of these live streams on the Sunday contest so we can talk about some of the NFL props on those Sundays. But a lot of fun. Thank you so much for carving out some of your time and helping out. And as we keep our fingers crossed as sports betting possibly could become legal out here in California, that would mean a lot of really good things for Santa Anita, a lot more contests, games, promotions, and stuff like this, where they would be able to combine the horse racing and actual wagering on games and other sports too. So thank you so much for your time, buddy, and good luck to you in this contest. And I know I'll be firing away on Saturday at Santa Anita.
Yeah, me too. I can't wait to bet their card, and I'm looking forward to see how we do in the contest.
So you come on my podcast each and every week. I think it's been about 3 years now where Eric has joined me every week to preview all the NFL football games. And then when NFL stops, we talk NBA once a week. And we just kind of check in and see what's been going on in the world of the NBA. And when we have our NFL previews, it's not like little quick hits. We talk for 90 minutes. We went for 2 hours the other day. We will preview every game. We'll spend as much time as needed on that. We'll give you full game previews, analysis. We'll talk about how the betting lines have moved. We'll talk daily fantasy and fantasy players to target. If you're a football fan, you will love that. Make sure to check out some of Eric's great content too. I'm not sure if they can see your Twitter handle on this, Eric. Tell us, where can we follow you if we want to get more from you on Twitter?
At ETOF21.
ETOF21 on Twitter. Go give Eric a follow. We'll be back talking more pick'em.santanita.com contests. Remember, folks, take a look one more time. It's totally free. It's really easy to enter. Just go to pick'em.santanita.com. It'll look like this right on the front, and make sure to register, check out the rules, and it is free. You could win $1,000 every Saturday and every Sunday just by playing along. Eric, good luck with all your plays this weekend, buddy.
Thanks, you too, my man.
Folks, good luck with everything in the Pick'em contest, and we'll see you again back with another one of these live streams very soon.